friends. Welcome to Anyteo Mystics. Breathing is one of the most fundamental processes in our body. It is so crucial to our survival that Mother Nature didn't take any chances and made this process happen automatically without the need of our conscious awareness. But if we learn to breathe consciously and to bring our full attention to our breathing, we can access an inner power that we never knew existed. My today's guest is the pioneer in the field of breathwork. He has trained over 250,000 people to use their breath for self-healing, self-improvement, and spiritual transformation. Dan Brule. Dan, you have tried many professions before becoming teacher and healer and author. Can you remember when you realized I want to help people to use their breath to access this inner power?
Yeah, I couldn't get away from it, it seems, because my first job was as an X-ray technician, and I went to Boston. It was a 2-year program, and as an X-ray technician, you have to tell people to take in a breath, hold it, and click and take their picture. So I was meditating on other people's breathing already. I was studying, I was watching changes. It was amazing to me that I'd do 3,000 people in a 2-year period, and you tell them all the same thing: take in a deep breath, hold it, and then I take a picture. And the muscles they use, the expression on their face, what they call the deep breath, what they put themselves through. And I could see that their personalities were being reflected in their relationship to their breath. So I was even more motivated to study breathing as soon as I went into the military.
And can we go back in time and talk about your learning journey? Because for some time you were quite intense spiritual seeker. You traveled to India, you have learned Qigong from Qigong masters. But when did you realize that it's actual breathing that you want to study?
Yeah, well, when I left the military in 76, um, then I was free, basically, it felt to me, to study breathing just for the sake of studying breathing. I had been using breath work and training in breath work. I was a deep sea diver in the military. We were doing breath holding experiments, and so when I got out, it was just a matter of just a beautiful relationship to my breath and doing that in nature and kind of like reconnecting with the breath. And in the process of reconnecting with the breath, you reconnect with your body, your emotions, your memories, your subconscious mind. You reconnect to nature. You reconnect to divine principles. And so it's the Swiss Army knife of life is the breath. And if you're interested in growing as a human and developing and becoming more secure, and trees, for example, they're lucky they have roots. They don't have to worry about their connection to the earth. But as breathing creatures, we don't have roots. So you sit and you breathe into the earth, and you feel that security. You feel the connection, and you breathe together with other people, and you feel the connection, and it's real. And so it's a pure way of connecting to making connections of any kind.
Well, obviously breathing is pretty complex process. And can we take a closer look at what is actually happening when we are breathing?
Well, let's start just on the physiological level, just as if we were only bodies, look at it from there for a moment. Physiologically, I would say there are 3 levels of breathing. The first is you're getting the air from the world into the lungs and vice versa. But you can huff and puff all day long and you won't live, you won't survive. The next level is that air that's getting exchanged is between the lungs and the blood. And so there's that respiration at the second level. But even that's not enough because our blood is saturated with 98% oxygen, unless you have some pathological condition. We're 98% saturated. So really, it's a matter of the third level, which is on the cells. The oxygen, the air leaving the blood, going into the cellular environment and back. That's the deepest level on the physiological level of breathing. And that's what medically would say is respiration. That's where genuine respiration occurs. And so us as conscious breathers, we can follow that path. We can follow the path the breath takes, and we can begin to breathe into ourselves and connect with it's already happening physiologically. We should be able to sense it and sense the flow of it and the ebb and flow of it and begin to manage it. And sure enough, you can. So you have the mechanical control of the breath, 6 breaths a minute, 12 breaths a minute, but you also have all the coordination around that. You know, 10 people breathing 6 breaths a minute, they're all going to do something different, you know? And so the efficiency is like the most important thing, I think, in the beginning of learning. Simplicity. It's easy to, because breathing is complicated. And so if you can find the simple things that are certain, the basic, you know, simple things that you can bet on. So the first for us is, I just gave an example of awareness, for example. So now you think about breathing and you think about it in those 3 levels. And if someone's truly interested in breath work, oh, that might give them a place to start. And it's almost the next thing I would do. So it's awareness. I'm answering your question by saying the first step is some excuse for increasing your awareness of breathing, some reason to pay more attention to it, some reason to practice something, right? I think without that, I'm wasting my breath with a lot of people. They could read it, they could find the information, but that willingness to actually put in time and to practice something, wow, that's gold. Because anybody, when you make changes in your breathing, you're forcing yourself to make changes in the way you look at things, the way you relate to things, the way you feel things, your relationship to them. And so as a healing practice, as a growth practice, it's a no-brainer. It's guaranteed, you know.
Okay, so that would be a great start for someone who wants to go deep into the breathing and who wants to access that inner power. But I have read some article and I learned that majority of us are actually not breathing properly. And that was quite surprising because I assume that we all are born with a good breathing technique. Babies know how to breathe. So what happens in that process that we somehow forgot how to breathe in proper way?
Breathing is a behavior. Right. So breathing is a behavior. And how do we take on behaviors? Unconsciously model them, consciously apply them with practice, have them burned in moments of shock, emotional pain. There are different ways we take on behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just look at breathing as a behavior. So right now, when I'm speaking, if someone would be monitoring my breath, it would be chaotic.
Mm-hmm.
Taken out of context, it speeds up, it slows down, it stops, it goes, it bangs down. You go, oh my God, what a horrible breathing pattern. But then when you look at how what the breath is serving in that moment, it's serving my communication.
Mm-hmm.
So, but maybe it could serve my communication so well that it starts to be a deficit on my physiology.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's where the mechanics of breath work and the physiology and not relying on traditional explanations for what's working, but do real-time measuring. CO2 is a great way to get a good handle on things, HRV.
Mm-hmm.
So once you practice this stuff, then you can confirm yogic exercises. You could see exactly what different breathing practices are doing. So we can benefit from all that stuff that's already happened, all this work that's already been done, and we can zero in on a few things that anybody, if they just learn and practice, can start to find their way very quickly by themselves.
Mm-hmm. You know, I have this challenge when the yoga instructors and Qigong masters and meditation experts, they all say, okay, focus on your breathing and observe your breathing. But, you know, when I start observing my breath, the breathing changes, the pattern changes, and I feel that I don't breathe naturally from that moment.
I am so loving you at the moment. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Though, because we just had my final stop was in Chicago, and we did a special retreat out there. And the last thing that I talked about, ending this tour, like my most advanced trainings, is exactly about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly about that. That when you tell a person to pay attention to their breathing, as soon as they pay attention to it, it changes.
Mm-hmm.
And you notice that.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like you notice that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that means that the kind of awareness that we have, which is our everyday running awareness, interferes with our nature.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like when we go into the forest, all the animals, they hear us, they see us. We don't hear them yet. We don't see them, but they hear us, they smell us, and they're already running and hiding.
Mm-hmm.
And we're walking into the forest, right? And they're all running for their lives, escaping into their holes, flying off to other places. And if you could sit in the forest long enough and be quiet enough and still enough, they'd all come back, they'd all resume their normal activity.
Mm-hmm.
But our presence seems to disturb
Yeah.
that nature, and
Mm-hmm.
and it's the quality of our consciousness. And if the quality of our consciousness is disturbing our breathing, then that's an amazing awareness. That's an amazing insight,
Mm-hmm.
because then now we know what to do, right? We develop the kind of awareness that doesn't disturb the breathing,
Mm-hmm.
because you're conscious.
Yeah.
And so, and you feel this really beautiful connection with, call it intuition or whatever. And if you felt the absence of it, you'll feel the presence of it when you find it. And you start to catch it. It's like learning to whistle.
Mm-hmm.
Accidentally, you catch it, but then you can't repeat it. And then, oh, it slips out. And pretty soon you kind of get it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, your work is on the level of consciousness. Our work is on the level of consciousness,
Mm-hmm.
developing the kind of consciousness that doesn't disturb our nature. And the breath is a perfect living example of our nature. And so you're reminding me again why this relationship to the breath is so important, and what the potential of it is. So thank you.
You know, can we elaborate on this for a little longer? Because I think this is very important, at least for me, and I feel that this is the point, where most of us kind of derail and go in the wrong direction in the process. For example, another suggestion that we hear from the experts is that most of us are actually using only the upper part of our lungs. But how can we fix this habit without actually manipulating uh, the breathing?
It starts with awareness. If you can be conscious of and a good coach can bring your awareness to things. I mean, I've had my hand personally. I've had my hands on well over 150,000 people by now, and most of my students. Once you get your hands on a few people, you can direct people's attention, awareness to muscles that they're using. For example, in their shoulders, maybe they're trying to breathe and they're using shoulder muscles and they don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, just gentle touch, and you can direct the person's attention. You can help them to one of the first things, if people have that shallow pattern that you're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
up high in the chest, then that would come with tension in the shoulders and tension around the neck and tensions are. So you unravel that stuff, and the breath is kind of released
Mm-hmm.
once you release the structures around there.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have breath awareness, you can begin to poke at it with the breath, and you can massage it from the inside with the breath, and you can kind of, do chiropractic on yourself from the
Mm-hmm.
inside out
Mm-hmm.
using the breath, because you're aware, you can feel.
Yes.
There are three fundamentals if we teach people, and from there, whatever breathing exercise they do, whatever style or approach they have, I'm sure that they'll find these fundamentals and they can parlay them uh, to the best of their benefit.
Mm-hmm.
The first was awareness. If anybody just spends time, just spending more time observing their own breathing,
Mm-hmm.
simply being the observer of the breath and starting to notice how you're breathing in different times, in different moments. That first investment of awareness,
Mm-hmm.
that yields you like all kinds of harvest. So then the next thing would be bringing in relaxation, which is what we just started to talk about. Those people have that upper chest breathing stuff up there. They're tight up in there. And so many of them might need to extend their exhale in a long shush, and getting comfortable. And you're literally kind of calming down and slowing down. Once you get a handle on the breath, then the body can start to like loosen up around it a little bit. And people can feel their way out of that breathing pattern. And you get them to focus down in the belly, for example, laying down, putting a book over their belly button. And when they breathe in, lift up the book. That gets all of the breath out of the top of the chest, and it's getting them to focus down into their belly. So there are lots of strategies and techniques, and there are a lot of great breathing teachers out there that coach people, who are ready, and willing. But people can do it on their own. If you start with awareness and then bring in relaxation, because if you're going to, when you're trying to learn something, you tend to put more effort into it than is needed. And then so people put too much effort into when they start to try to control their breathing. So the first thing I'm trying to be conscious of is not doing that, not putting more effort than required, not creating any extra tension in the process of breathing consciously, which defeats the purpose. Now we're out of harmony with our nature. For me, the connection is when I choose to breathe, and I'm choosing to breathe in exactly the way my body would have me breathe in that moment, then I have a conscious connection to my intuition. I have a gauge. I know when I'm off. You can feel if it's difficult, if you're over breathing or under breathing, if you're trying to catch up, or if you're spinning out of control. It's very easy. Once you have a relationship to your breath, and once you've deliberately spent time watching it and noticing how you do it in different times, everything gets revealed. And that's how you can tell the true students, And you revealed something, and I want to remind you of that, because that really impressed me, and I'm not going to forget that observation you made, that our attention disturbs the breathing. And if we take, and we know our direction. We need to work on the level of awareness. On the level of relaxation, it's how much effort are you using to breathe to get how much energy. And some people use so much energy to breathe that the energy left over from the breathing, it's like bad business. They're paying $10 and they're getting $1. It's like better if they didn't do anything and they just let their system run on its own, and so that relationship is important, the awareness, and then the letting go and the relaxation. So right from the beginning, I teach people sighs of relief. Sighs of relief. That's now you're consciously engaging in relaxation, and you can start to use that simple breath. So first, you get good at it. You get good at a sigh of relief. And you feel that it's relaxing, it's relieving, it's releasing. You make it Shakespearean, make it theatrical, squeeze all the juice out of it, make it a really luxurious, and milk it, right? And then get really good at that. And then you use that in times of trouble. You have a skill, you start to get, you can just, by getting a handle on your breath for a minute, and you can be back in center, back in focus. It's such a powerful, I think everybody really, and it's just a bit of observation and then practice, knowledge and skills. And if you look at all of the schools and all the styles, ancient and modern, they come down to three things. You're making people more conscious of their breathing. They're thinking about it in ways they didn't think about it. They're actively, they're becoming more aware of their breath. Step one. Step two, they're conscious of the relationship between effort and energy. The basic, the greatest effect for the least amount of effort required. That should be the guiding principle, and not the opposite.
Yes.
So relaxation is necessary for that, and awareness of relaxation. And this is where a lot of my personal work like with Tony Robbins, is one of my favorite guys, who's, high energy. When it comes to the other swing side, the parasympathetic, relaxing side, you've got to be able to go really deep, really quick to take advantage of of short breaks and so on.
Mhm.
And so that ability to really use the breath to let go and drop deep into profound relaxation. But the problem is, and here's the thing I wanted to say, is that the average person's reaction to relaxation is sleep.
Mhm.
The average person's reaction to relaxation is sleep. So if a person relaxes and they relax more and they relax more, pretty soon they're sleeping. And so, and it's as
Well, that might be a good thing,
so,
I would think.
well, it is. It's good for the body because it's only when we're unconscious that the body can go, oh, finally, that guy shut up. We can all relax now. We have to be unconscious so that our body can rejuvenate. So it puts us to sleep every night. But when we have the kind of consciousness that doesn't create tension in the body lets us stay awake and we get to actually feel the relaxation. Because most people literally are fast asleep at the most profoundly relaxed moments physiologically
Mhm.
of their day. They literally sleep through the most relaxed moments of their day. That's something that anybody can fix.
Yeah.
You just learn to stay awake while you relax, and breathing does that. So,
Mhm.
and that's the third thing is breath control. So you have increasing awareness, becoming efficient or aware of the relationship between effort and energy, the relaxation. And the third thing is just literal breath control. Can you breathe fast? A healthy person should be able to breathe fast.
Mhm.
Can you breathe slow?
Mhm.
Can you hold your breath for a certain period? There are certain parameters that you can measure that are perfect indicators for a person's endurance, strength, flexibility, all kinds of things, psychological states, emotional states. And so it's a powerful, powerful gauge. And so it's simple. You breathe fast, you breathe slow.
Mhm.
Now you could measure 6, 6, 4, 2, 2, 12, 12, 4, 16. But you know what? You just make something up that makes sense and you practice it and you see where it leads you. And then you practice the next thing.
Mhm.
And, um, and it's amazing how we can turn to our breath and be guided, literally guided by our own spirit, which is our breath is the carrier of that spirit, right?
Right. So when we say the spirit or chi or prana, whatever we want to call it, is it this energy that triggers the actual healing, or is it simply the physiology of this proper breathing technique that contributes to our healing on a physical level?
I think it's all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I think it's all of it. And in those times when I'm into healing, I'm a believer in throwing whatever works at it
Mm-hmm.
and sort out what actually worked and what helped and what might not have afterwards. But, just throw everything at it.
Mm-hmm.
But over the years and with practice and people that I've met and people I'm working with, you can transition, into needing
Mm-hmm.
less and less of some things and relying more and more on our own innate capacities. I think that's a flexible thing. The question is like some people it's 100%, some people is
Right.
0%,
Right.
and I think we have a say about how much that swings and which way.
Right. Then you also did some collaboration with Stan Grof, right?
Yeah, he's a psychiatrist, middle of the road, but dared to actually follow healing where it takes him.
Mm-hmm.
And beautiful guy. I love his method, his work. He's transformed psychiatry in the last
Mm-hmm.
30, 40 years. He's opened the minds of mainstream. He's stretched. He's the father of transpersonal psychology.
The reason I'm asking is because he developed this modality called holotropic breathing,
Yes.
which is the method of using breath to experience a non ordinary state of consciousness. And I find it absolutely fascinating that something like this might be possible. So, from your point of view, how can breathing alternate the way we experience our own existence?
there's that choice. So we were talking about breathing on the physiological level before, and who wouldn't want to breathe in the most optimal way for physiology? But now you have another use of the breath, maybe emotional development, psychotherapy, healing deep wounds, resolving psychological issues and emotional issues and so on. So you're in the realm of mainstream psychology, psychiatry, psychotherapy, and the breath link there is unarguable and unmistakable. Wim Hof.
Yep.
Have you heard of Wim? Yeah.
Yeah.
So Wim Hof is beginning to do to the physiology world what Stan Grof did to the psychotherapy world.
Right.
He opened the doors. The science is unarguable. Every year more and more evidence. It's just beautiful work. Going to transform psychiatry forever.
Yeah.
Just as the work of Dr. Peter Litchfield, he's taken behavioral sciences, respiratory physiology, chemistry, science, and combined them into an amazingly beautiful model, breath-centered model. So there are great pioneers out there, and Stan Grof, wow, he's leading among them.
Yeah, he is amazing. So how much farther do you think we can go with this breathing journey? Do you feel that all techniques and benefits been discovered? Or can we go even farther and keep discovering more and more benefits of this phenomena?
Oh my God, I've been nonstop, full-time student of the breath since 1970, with some interruptions for military, but I found a way to use it, and some other interruptions. But I've been nonstop, and I'll tell you, there's more to learn every day. More to, honestly, just when you get to the top of the mountain, you look and you see, oh my God, there's an even bigger mountain up there.
Yeah.
Oh my. And the breath can take us to our source, and I think that's about as far as we would ever need to go. And it can take us to our ultimate potential, whatever that is, and that's so that we're into the infinite, aren't we? We're into the unlimited. Yeah. One of the reasons I love the breath. And the wonderful thing about having students is they become your teachers. And it's just, this work just keeps getting better because all of the students keep getting better.
You have been part of many amazing projects worldwide over the years. Is there anything on your bucket list that you would still like to do?
I've just been accepting invitations, honestly, and I don't care where they come from. And if they come from a place I hadn't been before, I'm happy to go. And there are places I love to go and I keep going back to, and everything in between. So, it's a mission for me, really, and it keeps getting better. And as we're all standing on each other's shoulders, we're learning more. And now we have medical sciences cooperating with spiritual seekers. It's perfect. It's the perfect marriage.
Dan, thank you so much for all your work. I really think that it is so important, and it can help so many people on so many levels. And so thank you for your work, and of course thank you for your time to talk to us today, and all the best to you.
Yes, thank you so much.
That was Dan Brule. I hope you liked the conversation inspiring, and as always, I would love to hear your feedback, your questions or suggestions. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.